Now, yesterday, the RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat picked up a pressing issue about the Manipur violence. What he said was of concern and then makes us question about India's borders and what is it that the enemy on the other side is looking to do when there are no other ways to attack, to push India into a corner. Now, Mohan Bhagwat posed 4 questions. He said, how did this sudden discord in Manipur take place? Second of all, who is the one who benefits from this discord and secessionism in Manipur? Question number 3, which foreign powers may be interested in taking advantage of the discord in Manipur? And question number 4, does the geopolitics of Southeast Asia have a role in this dastardly attack that led to the death of hundreds of people in Manipur? The RSS chief further asserted that it is not happening, but it is being made to happen. A foreign hand has been witnessed earlier as well in Kashmir in the Khalistani movement. Both have failed miserably. It is a known fact that a hoard of weapons were recovered in Manipur, where the question is, where did they come from? How did the locals get equipped with this advanced arms and ammunition? There was a drug smuggling nexus that operates in the region as well. There has been a number of illegal immigrants that enter Manipur and then spread into other parts of the country, especially Bengal, and that also has been the focus of the Indian government and the BRS to keep a check on. So now it is time to address the elephant in the room. Is Manipur becoming the new front for India's foes? And who is it that benefits from this chaos in Manipur? I'm going to bring forth to you this statement that has been made by Mohan Bhagwat. Let's listen to it and then start our debate.
स्थिति को लेके अभी शांत हो रही है, लेकिन ये आपस में झगड़ा कैसे हुआ? बहुत वर्षों से वहां मणिपुरी मैतेई और मणिपुरी कुकी वो साथ में रहते हैं। अचानक कैसे झगड़ा हुआ? सीमा लगत क्षेत्र है वो भारत का, वहां पर ऐसा होना, वहां पर अलगाव की बातें खड़ी होना, वहां पर ऐसे आपस में झगड़े होना, इससे किसका फायदा है? बाहर की शक्तियों का भी फायदा है। बाहरी लोग थे क्या करने वाले? मजबूत सरकार है और तत्पर भी है। स्वयं गृह मंत्री वहां जाकर बैठे 3 दिन और मिनिस्टर जाके वहां 15-15 दिन रहे, सारा प्रयास किया, वहां की सरकार चाहती नहीं।
Okay, I start my conversation with Professor Nalapat. And Professor, there were a number of these conjectures that were being put forth, and now the debate has again been raised by Mohan Bhagwat. In terms of how strategically placed our armed forces are, whether it is the northern border or the western border, is there a porous border that our enemies have now been able to enter into, infiltrate into, simply because perhaps we were not paying enough attention?
Well, Megha, first of all, I'd like to say that Dr. Bhagwat is absolutely right. And if you check back to NewsX's broadcast during the, just after the coup in Myanmar, when there was a huge influx of individuals from Myanmar into the northeast corner of India, I had warned at that point in time that there was very heavy Chinese influence in that particular zone. And the Chinese had multiple agents of influence in that particular zone. And we needed to be careful that some of them did not sneak across the border. The point was, I think on humanitarian grounds, they were allowed to come. The fact is that many of them were basically, for a long time, linked to the Chinese. And don't forget the drug trade. The drug trade is a very important component of the money collection that takes place by both the Chinese as well as the Pakistan militaries for their covert activities. Narcotics is a very big business there. And you can see, whether it's on the western border, whether it's on the northeastern border, there's a very heavy inflow of narcotics or attempted inflow of narcotics. And from that point of view also, the reality is that we have to understand that that particular part of the border, it is not the Indo-Myanmar border. In effect, it is the India-China border. And Dr. Bhagwat was alluding to a fact which is very, very clear. And that fact is, there is a country in Asia that does not want India to grow, that in fact wants India to implode and to become weak in the way that its own satellite, Pakistan, is imploding and becoming weak. And that country is China. So, you put two and two together. At that point in time, I think in NewsX, you recall that there were discussions, and it was pointed out that many of the individuals who are crossing the border have been crossing with ulterior motives. They came in. Now, the same thing happened in Kashmir. We are talking about Kashmir. Major Shah is an expert in the subject. He knows all about that. He has been fought valiantly. The fact is that under various peace accords signed with local Kashmiri leaders, all of whom, by the way, have become multi-billionaires, a lot of individuals were enabled to come from what was called Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, which is actually in Indian Kashmir, into the valley, and in the 1980s. And these are the people who created the problems in the 1990s. Mm-hmm. So this is the problem there, that, we have this kind of malign influence and we have this nexus working against us. So again, I'd like to repeat, the RSS chief has been absolutely right in pointing out to this particular facet of the situation in Manipur.
I have with me Indol Sen-Gupta as well. Indol, if you could shed light into the topography and the demographics, and how is it that the border along Myanmar and Manipur has been infested with drugs trade, arms trade and illegal immigration?
Border is a particularly difficult border. We know this for a long time. It is part of what is known as the Golden Triangle in the drug trade. Drugs from, especially cocaine, from across Myanmar travels across the northeast and spreads throughout India, is smuggled throughout India and then goes to other parts of the world. This has been known for a long, long time. Also remember, some of this has also got an extra boost once the Americans left Afghanistan. Illicit, opium growing in Afghanistan has gone to a whole new level. The Taliban claim that they have destroyed everything, they don't grow anything, but that's not true at all. So India actually is caught now in a bit of a pincher movement of illicit cocaine, especially cocaine and heroin trade. One from the northeast and one, of course, from the northwest. That particular border will become even more and more problematic as time goes by. Because many of the Bangladeshi influence is sort of, mingling, so to speak, with this drug trade across the border between Myanmar and, northeastern India. China is very active in Bangladesh. China is very active. I just heard the ambassador say, essentially, it's our border with China, not with Myanmar. I completely agree. China is very, very active in this region, and it is the great Chinese dream and the Pakistani dream to involve India in a two-front war, and that can only happen if this kind of thing can be roused. And remember, we are actually being caught in three simultaneous conflicts. Of course, there's the old conflict with Pakistan in the northwest. Khalistan is there's efforts to stoke Khalistan, and our northeast is being targeted once again. All of this is happening. Please remember, and this is my fundamental framework point, as it were, Megha. Please remember, India is on its way to become a $5 trillion economy. From there onwards, it will get exponentially tougher to stop India, because it might very quickly become a $10 trillion economy. Once you get to a $10 trillion economy with a population of 1.4 billion people, you are essentially unstoppable. No one can stop then the rise of India as a preeminent power of its time. And therefore, all of these things will happen much more.
Okay. Major Mohammed Ali Shah, you've served in the army in Manipur. You know the state inside out. And the situation that Manipuris find themselves in, they are the victims here. There are a certain section of the people who are then armed with these ammunition. There is opium trade that takes place over there. And just for some money or some small benefits, the Chinese are able to buy them out. And they don't realize it's the bigger impact and repercussion that India as a country along the Myanmar border is then going to fight.
Right, Megha, thank you. Firstly, answer that. No, what said that it has not happened, it has been made to happen. Now, I would definitely tend to agree with that because there is more 5 months now. And but my view is what I've been suggested.
Major Mohammed Ali Shah, I'll quickly request you to, there's an audio glitch over there, and if we could just request you to, I don't know, get closer to your Wi-Fi network, and then it would be easier for us to hear you out as well. I have with me former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, SP Ved. Now, sir, can there parallels be drawn in what is happening in what is happening in Manipur and what Kashmir has had to go through for decades together?
Absolutely, I have no doubt about it. And as Professor Nalbat was mentioning, it is, Chinese hand in the disturbance in the northeast for many, many years. We have seen how insurgency was funded, trained, armed by Chinese for many, many years. But India, to a large extent, was able to control it. But of recently, what happened in Manipur has a similar toolkit what was happening in the western front of Jammu and Kashmir. And here the Chinese, as has been mentioned, they and Soros-funded, organizations, they don't want India to march ahead the way it is marching ahead in terms of economy, in terms of becoming 5 trillion economy, and then unstoppable, as my previous speaker was mentioning. India, there's no force on earth which can stop India from becoming a big global power, and this doesn't suit your immediate neighbors, and particularly China. And China is using Pakistan and Bangladesh, Myanmar, and absolutely rightly put, you are bordered with China, not Myanmar. Myanmar is only a small tool in the hands of Chinese. Okay. And the Chinese have been, at the way they have been encircling India. And Dr. Mohan Bhagwat is absolutely right that centuries se, agar ye cookies or Metis itne centuries se ikatthe reh rahe the, how suddenly this problem has been propped up. It is basically to stop India and create this on the border, create this problem, so that India is pestered with. We have fissures in our organization as a nation, and these are being exploited, and that is what is these Soros-funded and Chinese joining hand are doing it. And okay. I think we need to be very, very careful, and we need to educate our people in Manipur. Okay. This problem, which was essentially a drug problem, has been painted into religious war between Christians and Hindus, which I am afraid it's not so. So I think our government of India and the state government must go offensive in terms of warfare, the information warfare, as well as fighting this terrorism.
Major Mohammed Ali Shah, if you can hear us now, and do you think the government of India and the Indian armed forces have been less focused on the border along Myanmar versus in Kashmir and, of course, the line of actual control?
Okay, that's a very, very good question, Megha. Megha, firstly, the very fact that what Dr. Mohan Bhagwat said, that, it's not happened, it's been made to happen. I tend to agree with that because over 5 months, and sorry, I mean, there's no sign of peace. My Manipuri brethren have been suffering. When I say Manipuri brethren, I include the Meiteis and the Kukis of all tribes, all communities, everyone together. The Nagas have maintained a restraint, thankfully, and but that doesn't mean that they are not suffering at the same time, because they have to suffer in silence over there. Now, the very fact is, why has it not been put to control? China's hand cannot be ruled out completely. I mean, that's something which has to be looked into. Yes, no doubt, because China has always tried to create trouble in our nation, and China actually used to help the Naga insurgents when the demand for Nagaland was there. Right now in Nagaland, there is a ceasefire right now with the NSC and IM and an NSC and K. So for some reason, many of us thought that China probably had lost interest, perhaps, maybe because they had stopped supplying weapons for quite some time. But that angle also needs to be looked in. Yes, no doubt about it. But the very fact is, again, when we talk about Meiteis and Kukis have been living together for such a long time. In fact, there were ethnic clashes earlier in Manipur, but not of this kind of a magnitude. In '93, there was the Pangal, that's Manipuri Muslim, the Pangal and the Meitei Hindu clash. In '94, there was in Naga and Kuki clash, and both are Christians. And in '97, there was an in-house fighting among the Kukis. The Tata speaking Kukis and the Kukizomi, Kuki Paite, there was a clash which was sorted out in 1998. The Mizos stepped in, and they were driven out from North Manipur to Chachanpur, which the Kukis call as Lamka, because the Kukis do not really believe in Lord Chachan. Though Lord Chachan, I think the history of Manipur should be respected by everyone. In fact,
Okay.
now the very fact is, why the army? That is my golden question. Why the army has not been called in as an aid to the civil authorities? Because a lot of people question me, why is the army not doing it? Because army's hands are tied. There is no Armed Forces Special Power Act existing in the valley. In fact, there is Armed Forces Special Power Act in the hills, all right, but there is no Armed Forces Special Power Act in the valley, which is not agreeable to many people. Fine, but then at the end of the day, if you want the army to bring in peace, you have to, with responsibility comes authority. With authority comes responsibility. So the very fact is, now when we talk about the drug angle, there are a couple of points I would want to bring, Megha. Just 4 points, 4 quick points. First, I think all tribes, all communities that's my personal view, are indigenous to Manipur. It will be wrong to say Kukis are outsiders, because there are a lot of Kukis I know who are serving in the army. Very brave officers, my personal friends. The government does a full verification of the background. The intelligence does a full verification of the background before entering any government service. So definitely they cannot be outsiders. Then I have a coursemate in the army.
The fact that the fact that there is a strife between two communities in Manipur, which is being taken advantage of a third party, which has vested interests in seeing India disintegrate. And we spoke about the borders, we spoke about Jammu and Kashmir, we spoke about the Khalistani angle, we spoke about the line of actual control, and Manipur as well. So this angle, which was being negated by a number of people, and we have had these discussions time and again several times when Manipur was boiling, is also to then bring focus to that people have still find it difficult to believe that there could in fact be a foreign hand, and not just any foreign hand but Chinese hand. But because keeping in mind what is happening across all borders in India, it is primarily the Chinese funds, arms, ammunitions, jets that are allowing for at least an effort that is being put forth to disintegrate India, to break India's sovereignty.
Oh, certainly, yes, Megha. The very fact is, Manipur is a state with, I've been to every state in the country. I've traveled to so many countries. And let me tell you, I personally consider Manipur to be the most beautiful state in the country. And of course, Mr. S.P. Ved is here, and Jammu Kashmir also is very beautiful. But I have served in the northeast part of India and in J&K both, and I consider the northeast part of India extremely, extremely beautiful with very good people. In fact, the people from Manipur have contributed towards our sports. They are very good. They are a lot of literates from Manipur. Their education and their contribution is immense, Megha. In fact, and I'm sorry to say, I have to state one fact over here that we as citizens of our country, many of us, including the media, sorry to say, have neglected the northeast part of India for a very, very long time. But hats off to you and your channel. You have not, thankfully. NewsX is the only channel that I know which actually took interest, was covering Manipur affairs, and where nobody was willing to talk about it, about what's happening in Manipur, in fact. So the very fact is Manipur has been neglected, and we cannot neglect our most beautiful people, the most cultured people, the best people.
Fair enough. Okay, Professor Nalapa, then, there was AFSPA that at one point of time was applicable in Manipur and other parts of the northeastern region. Again, the question arises, when we take care of ensuring that our borders are protected, and in Manipur particularly, and the armed forces then are put in place, would there be again, I don't know, could there be a Kashmir-like situation that could then erupt in Manipur, or can we thwart it right here, because this is only just fomenting now? It is not a matter that has gone on since 1947, but just a recent occurrence?
Well, Megha, I'd like to point out the wider plan. And if you go to Western countries, you go to the United States, go to the UK, go to France, go to Germany, there's a constant chant that India Christians are being persecuted. That is absolutely not true. The Christian community is a flourishing community. It has done amazing things in the world of healthcare and in education. We can be really proud of the Christian community. But the talk is that Christians are not safe in India. Christians are being maltreated in India. And this particular script that we are saying, basically it's being painted in these countries as a conflict of Hindus who are fighting Christians. The Kukis are mostly Christian. The fact is that the Metis and the Nagas, as has correctly been said, are still very friendly to each other. The Nagas are also Christian. It's nothing to do with Hindu or Christian. It's nothing to do with Hindu or Muslim. It's everything to do with the fact that just a handful of people can stir up trouble by, for example, using social media, planting fake memes, planting AI-generated photographs, and basically creating hatred and fear. And this is what is happening in that part of the world. And I think we need to fight it through for example, using the methods we have to get correct information there, including through the internet, and to make it very clear that India is not a country in which any religion will feel unsafe. Okay. That is very, very important, because this is the game plan of China to put India as an anti-Christian country, when the fact is it is the Chinese who are totally anti-Muslim, the Chinese Communist Party, who are totally anti-Muslim and anti-Christian.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a fair point. Interesting, if you take a look at the domestic politics and how the opposition has been lambasting the government of India and not being able to find a solution to the Kuki-Metis crisis, or this is what it is brought about to be. After Mohan Bhagwat came out with a statement, now Bhupesh Baghel, the Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, has now questioned the government of India, saying, who is the one who's telling the truth? Is it Prime Minister Narendra Modi who says that our borders are safe, or is it Mohan Bhagwat who says that our border along Myanmar is in peril, is being at this point of time infiltrated because the Chinese want to disintegrate India, or Chinese have their vested interests? So do we see politics playing out in this situation as well?
There'll always be politics. Look, I mean, whenever something like this happens, there's always going to be politics. There's always politics about these situations like this in every part of the world. We shouldn't be too bothered about politics. I really think what we should be more bothered about is the sovereignty question. And the sovereignty question really faces us today in a very stark way. I don't think most people in India, especially younger people, realize the sovereignty challenges that India has always faced throughout its independent history and continues to face even today. And these challenges, as I said before, will become exponentially greater. Every fissure of India will be exploited. And unless there's a public understanding that these fissures are being exploited, we cannot actually fight this. And therefore, channels like yourself play a extremely vital role in explaining and putting in the public discourse that India's sovereignty challenges are immense. And, not just the government and not just security forces, but people at large have to understand how deep and how vicious our security challenges really are.
Right. SP Ved, a very, very interesting and important point that was made by Professor Nalapat. So, the effort that is being taken to project India as a nationalist Hindu state and then bringing about these artificial, push down our throat that, there is a discord between Hindus and Muslims, there is a discord between Hindus and Sikhs. And now there is a discord between Hindus and Christians, where Hindus are the one who are looking to have a nationalistic Hindu majority country. But when nothing of the sort is really true. Now, how can we dispel these falsified reports and narratives that are being built? And now this time around, when it comes to the Manipur violence.
See, there is a deep-rooted conspiracy in the West. If you monitor Western media, whether it is Washington Post or New York Times, or just see how India is painted as a country with the nationalist, Hindu nationalist fervor, and how persecution of Christians and Muslims is taking place in India. If there is one country in the world where every religion is flourishing, it is India. And how this narrative is being built, I think we need to counter this with, as I was mentioning, Indian, they need to occupy international media space. Today, we have very, very, very little say, and I'm afraid what the kind of narrative they have almost succeeded in the West, painting India as a new Hindu nationalistic with the coming of BJP and Narendra Modi ji. But it's not on ground true. If there is one community which is, as one of our colleague puts it, that Hindus are 8th class citizens in India. That may be a little exaggeration, but yes, there is, though India is a Hindu majority country, but still every religion has full freedom, whether it is Muslims or Christians. And how have millions changed their religion to both Christianity and Islam? After all, they were all earlier Hindus and they have converted. So that was complete freedom here. But I think at the international level, we need to project the true picture of India. How there is a vested interest to paint India in a wrong side, and I think you need to have our embassies must work on this front. They have a great role, and also international media. India needs to have channels like BBC. India needs to. Today you have one such channel beyond, but I think we need to occupy much more space on the international.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Quickly, then Major Mohammed Ali Shah, quickly 30 seconds before I wrap this up. I'm already extending my time limit.
Sure, Megha. Megha, I would like to say that as the narrative being Hindu versus Christian, well, they are mighty Christian as well, and they would be having names like Rohan or Laishram, Raju Singh. They are Kukida Christians, yes. Nagas are also Christians. So it's not a religious conflict, Hindus versus Christians, not at all. It is a different conflict which is very, very complex at the moment, and which is very, very serious, very, very sensitive. And my heart goes out to both the communities, both the tribes. I have friends from both the sides. And I would like to just complete it by saying just 3 points more. That, it would be wrong to...
have time. Yeah.
It would be wrong to paint a community with the same brush. It would be wrong to say a rapist Maite because of the parading video that came in. It would be wrong to say that, oh, he's a poppy cultivator, he's a drug peddler, he's a narco-terrorist. That term would be wrong because, see, it is not... Tell me one thing. For example, if I sow rice somewhere, there is a process. It is sowed, and then it's plowed, and then there is processing, then there is distribution, then there is selling. There is so many other things involved. So it would be wrong to call...
And that's exactly what the Chinese are taking advantage of pitting one community against another, one individual against another, and simply putting in funds by way of drugs. And obviously, we've seen how it has gone into a downward spiral when it comes to Punjab. A replication of it is something India has been warned of. We do not want it to be an escalating problem that then goes out of hand. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, and thanks for watching NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.